pressure continues to build on Speaker Mike Johnson to swear in Adelita Grijalva, who was elected nearly a month ago in a special election, and Johnson has refused to seat her since she won her election. Coincidentally, because maybe she's the 218th vote to force a discharge petition to release the Epstein Files. So Johnson over the past month has been doing backflips and bending over backwards, trying to come up with new excuses for why he can't swear her in. They've all fallen flat, and there have been some updates in the past few days that have really ratcheted up the pressure on him. But I want to start with what he said about Adelita Grijalva, because she's been out there the past week or two being very loud and vocal about the fact that she's ready to get to work, and she's sick of having Johnson delay swearing her in. And so she's out there giving interviews. She's talking to her new colleagues, and this is how Johnson had to respond to it when he was at a press conference on Monday. Let's take a look at that.
We'll administer the oath to her. I hope on the first day we come back, legislative session. I'm willing and anxious to do that. In the meantime, instead of doing TikTok videos, she should be serving her constituents.
Grijalva cannot serve her constituents right now because Johnson won't swear her in. First of all, she said her office is literally locked. She can't get into it. And meanwhile, she can't provide the things that she needs to provide to her constituents because she can't get an office up and running and functioning with a staff and a team. So the things she can't do right now include resolving constituent issues around maybe Social Security or Medicare payments. She can't help out her constituents that are having maybe issues with the IRS or immigration cases. She can't deal with constituent issues around veterans benefits or passport emergencies because Johnson will not swear her in, and she can't build a functioning office for her. And here's the deal. She is unable to do any of that until Johnson swears her in. And Grijalva, in a press conference with Jamie Raskin and Hakeem Jeffries yesterday, explained why she is unable to do any of those things right now. Let's take a look at that.
Today is day 28 since my election. And I think that it's really important that we appreciate that 812,000 Arizonans do not have representation in Congress. My dad passed away a little over 7 months ago in March. And since that time, the offices were able to provide constituent services. It was the People's Office of Arizona CD7. On September 23rd, those services ended. And so I do not have access to provide services in district. And I think that I also don't have a budget. So this coming back and forth is on my miles that I had stored up because I don't have a budget. I'm not able to open a lease in district. And I think that, the efforts that have been provided to me, and I'm appreciative of the administration's effort, the departments in the administration, they're trying to provide piecemeal solutions to some of the problems that we have. But respectfully, there's so much that cannot be done until I am sworn in.
So you heard her. They were able to provide services to her constituents before she was elected, but that those services stopped when she was elected. So now there are 800,000 people in her district not receiving vital services because of the fact that Mike Johnson won't swear her in. And that's the thing here is I think people sometimes forget in that being a member of Congress, you're sort of the first line of defense for a lot of constituent issues. So it's not just legislating for your constituents back home. There are important day-to-day issues that can't get resolved for 800,000 people because of Mike Johnson. And the excuses he keeps pulling out are ridiculous. Every time he comes up with one and it gets debunked, he moves on to another one. So the most recent one he's moved on to, which is complete BS, is this what he's been calling the Pelosi precedent. And I want to show an interview that he did over the weekend with Jonathan Karl, who did a very good job calling Johnson out for this ridiculous excuse. Let's take a look at that.
When are you going to swear in Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva?
As soon as we get back to legislative session, when Chuck Schumer allows us to turn the lights back on.
Why haven't you done it already?
Because this is the way the institution works. I'm following the Pelosi precedent, by the way, when my dear friend from Louisiana, Julia Letlow, was elected to fill the seat of her deceased husband because of COVID. Nancy Pelosi took 25 days to swear her in. By the way,
are you saying? Let me stop you. Are you saying that Nancy Pelosi refused to swear her in earlier?
No, I'm saying that's my very point. Is this is the normal process.
My understanding is that was the date that actually the representative-elect Letlow at the time requested.
No.
She had obviously her.
Okay, here's some more examples, okay?
No, but wait a minute. You mentioned the Pelosi precedent, but Pelosi didn't delay that.
Let me give you more than Pelosi precedent, okay?
And what about the Johnson precedent? Because you swore in 2 Republicans the day after their election.
I'm happy to answer. Pelosi precedent, Pat Ryan, Joe Simpolinski. They were elected during an August recess. So 21 days later, when the House returned to regular legislative session, they were administered the oath. That's what we're doing. We're not in session right now. Rep. Grijalva was elected after the House was out of session. As soon as we return to legislative session, as soon as the Democrats decide to turn the lights back on so we can all get back here, I will administer the oath on the first day.
You could swear her in tomorrow, right?
No, not tomorrow. No, we couldn't. We wouldn't. There was an exception for 2 Floridians earlier in this Congress, but the reason was they were duly elected, they had a date set, they flew in all their friends and family, and the House went out of session.
So if she flies in friends and family, then
we don't have a date set. She was elected after.
Okay. Let me ask you about the president.
I mean, obviously, the flying your family in excuse is long since been debunked. Obviously, Grijalva has said, I will fly in my whole family if that's the difference. So that one is just dead on arrival and ridiculous. And then once again, him trying to say, well, we're not in legislative session, so I can't swear her in. Congress should be in legislative session right now. It's not that they're unable to do that because the government is shut down. They're supposed to be there right now in D.C. But Johnson is saying, well, Democrats have shut down the government, so we don't need to be there. And we've already done our job by passing a partisan continuing resolution. And so we don't need to be in Congress legislating until the Democrats turn the lights back on. That's not true. They could and should be back in D.C. doing their job right now. But every single week, Johnson sends his members home or doesn't call them back to D.C. and says, you're having another week of a district work period, because he doesn't want to face swearing her in and what that would mean. And he's trying to give the White House more time to circle the wagons before this inevitable discharge petition on the Epstein Files happens, whether they like it or not. Johnson is just rearranging the chairs of the Titanic right now. And you're starting to see some big developments happen here. Yesterday, the Attorney General of Arizona sued Mike Johnson and Congress for not swearing Grijalva in. So I want to show you what the Attorney General had to say about that when she was asked about this lawsuit yesterday.
Swear her in, whether it's the fact that she's said she's going to be the final vote on the Epstein Files, or he just doesn't want to have one more Democrat in office. Whatever his motives are, they're totally illegitimate, and it's totally unconstitutional. And the case law is on our side as well. So we feel like we're going to win this case, but obviously we'll be making the best arguments we can.
And what she's citing here is Article 1, Section 2, which basically says every state is entitled to full representation. And that's what gives them a strong case here is their argument, to put it simply, is basically that there is taxation without representation right now. She's basically saying that 800,000 Arizonans are paying taxes and paying to the federal government and not getting their constitutionally mandated representation for those taxes because of Mike Johnson stalling. And it sounds like a strong case, and it's good to see, obviously so many Democrats, they can't do much more than try to confront the speaker face to face and hold interviews and try to put the pressure on. But it is good to see a Democrat with authority in this situation, which the Attorney General of Arizona, actually flex their legal authority to take this case to the courts and try to force Johnson's hand on swearing her in. It feels like it's about time. And I think this could force the House's hand if a judge issues an injunction compelling Johnson to swear her in, which would be a big deal. And would look like this big failure and loss for Mike Johnson too, than if he would have just done his job in the first place. And Republicans as well in the past day or two have started to express their own frustration with the fact that Johnson will not pull the House back into session. And so just this morning, this is what Senator Kevin Cramer had to say when he was on Fox News about Republicans in Congress still not being in D.C. after a month. Let's take a look at that.
I think the leader and the speaker are in sync on this. It may be getting to be time for him to bring the House back into session, if for no other reason, to just start doing other legislation, and perhaps to swear in the House member from Arizona that they're so uptight about.
Yeah, no, but also.
So, and it's not just Cramer who said this. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene has gotten very loud about this and saying, why is Johnson not pulling people back to Congress? This is ridiculous. It's been a month. On a private GOP caucus phone call yesterday, Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne, who's very much a person of the right, a Trump fan, a MAGA person, also said on that private GOP call that she thinks Johnson's shutdown messaging is getting old, because it is old. It's just stalling and grandstanding, while on the other hand, you have Democrats obviously out there fighting in this shutdown for a very clear reason, which is healthcare. And so this is just kind of amounted to a messaging failure for Mike Johnson. I mean, he sort of doesn't have a choice on one hand, because everybody in the party or the GOP is afraid of Donald Trump right now, and he's got to do Donald Trump's bidding. But it's been pretty embarrassing watching him try to apply logic to things that make no sense, because he thinks the American people aren't smart enough to realize that he is covering up for a White House because of the Epstein Files, which is all this comes down to. So keep an eye on this. I mean, urge people to keep the pressure on. I think the cracks are showing, and not only is the public already outraged about this, but I think when the cracks start showing within your own party, it's not a good sign. That's it for me today. If you liked what you saw, throw a like on this video, follow the Demwins Media YouTube channel, follow me at buildingthebench.substack.com, and we will keep bringing you the news as you need to see it. Thanks for watching.